The job market is so brutal right now. Many people are stressed about the fact that they could end up losing their jobs. But perhaps what's even more troubling is if they do get laid off, they may not stand a chance of getting back into the job market in today's economy. And back in the day, we had situations where if people were laid off or were looking for work, there would actually be businesses willing to hire them, so unemployment always remained low. But now things are a bit different. Now we have a situation where more people are looking for work after either being laid off or wanting to job hop, but now unemployment rate is increasing as opposed to staying the same or decreasing. So something has drastically changed. So if you're thinking about leaving your current position for something else, or you fear the prospect that you may be about to be laid off, then this is the video for you. But I also want to send a wider warning to anyone who is not considering leaving their jobs or not fearing the prospect of being fired. Because even if you remain exactly where you are in your current job, if other people follow through with dropping out of their current job or dropping out of the workforce, then we will all see a major disruption to the economy. And this is something I'll break down in just a moment. But before we get into anything, it just takes 2 seconds. If you enjoy this video and you enjoy these kind of updates, please do consider hitting the like and subscribe button down below. And without further ado, let's get into it. It used to pay to change jobs, but these days, it doesn't. Interesting research from the Wall Street Journal suggests that job seekers have now hit what they're calling a wall of salary deflation. And that's basically being described as the salary bump that people who switch jobs could command, as opposed to if they stayed put in their current job. That's now vanished. So essentially, there's virtually no difference in your salary whether you stay put in your current job or if you switch to a new job. And this graph sums it up perfectly well for me. You can see here the difference in wage growth between job switchers and job stayers. Now, back in the past, you can see there's quite a sizable distance between the orange line being the job switchers and the blue line being the job stayers. Fast forward all the way to today, the gap has reduced massively. It's virtually nil. There is essentially no difference in wage growth now, whether you stay put or switch your job. Now I know it may sound crazy that so many people would consider leaving their job, a sound, steady, guaranteed income stream in a time of uncertainty, just to go and obtain something a bit different. But many people are now reporting to feel increasingly dissatisfied with their current workplace, whether they're being mistreated by their employer, they're getting bored with the type of work they're doing, or they just want to move somewhere different and experience something different. The reasons are wide-ranging, but the fact remains, people are not feeling like they can continue working at their current workplace. Albeit, there are actually fewer Americans who are quitting their jobs right now. According to data, the number of workers who left their jobs last year hit the lowest level since 2020. It says that Americans quit 39.6 million jobs in 2024, down 11% from the year before and down 22% from the recent peak in 2022. So, fewer Americans are quitting, but they are still quitting. While the numbers may be lower, they still expect more than 30 million Americans to quit their jobs heading into 2025. Well, here's the problem. Take a look at this. It says US payroll growth totals 151,000 in February, which is less than expected. The jobs report came out this month, and suffice to say, the reviews are mixed. Some believe this is good for the US economy, others believe it's bad for the US economy. When you hire new people, you tend to get economic growth. And the reason we saw lots of this back in 2024 was because the federal government hired a whole bunch of new workers. So, as alluded to before, more workers equals more growth. However, in 2025, now that we have Donald Trump in the White House and Elon Musk in the Department of Government Efficiency, federal government workers are being slashed at every level. So fewer people are now in those jobs, which means we could be likely to see a potential slowdown in the growth. But if salary is a big issue for you and you want to leave your current job in the pursuit of finding a role that pays you a lot more than you're earning right now, just have a look at this and then maybe try and make up your mind from there. Bloomberg published this article recently saying that the US job market and consumers look to be weakening. Let's have a read of this together. Here's one more reason to cling to a steady job. it pays to stay. Typically, workers who snag a new position see higher pay bumps than those holding down the same job. We covered that at the start of the video. That is the more common trajectory. But in February, median wage growth of 4.4% for job stayers surpassed a 4.2% gain for job switchers, according to data from the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta. So those who stayed put in their current jobs got a higher wage compared to those who switched. And that completely goes against everything that we've discussed and everything we've seen back in the past. So clearly something has shifted. The change, as measured by a 3-month moving average, is yet another sign of a softening labour market. For the past year, employers have been slashing jobs over concerns about inflation, slowing economic growth, and interest rates. Daniel DiMartino Booth, the CEO and chief strategist at QI Research, explains why the US Central Bank and Chairman Jerome Powell of the Federal Reserve may be forced to rethink their near-term monetary policy strategy as both labour market and consumer spending data look to be pointing towards a US recession. So that is where we're at right now, and I want to leave you with this one warning or one afterthought, because I think it's very important that if you're going to make such a massive decision to leave a guaranteed income stream, at the very least, you should be knowing exactly what you're about to be in for. Experts are saying Americans should not risk the uncertainty and leave their current jobs simply for the pursuit of wanting the grass to be greener. And sometimes the grass isn't greener. In this case, the grass appears to be dead on the other side. If there's anything that will more than likely raise a few eyebrows, it's instability and uncertainty. We've already seen with the Trump administration right now that the effects of what they're trying to implement, be it domestic or international, things are in turmoil at the minute. You know, the world certainly doesn't know how to respond or how to view Donald Trump and his administration with these tariffs, because this is a massive shake-up to the current world system in terms of how they go about doing business. So things are in turmoil at the minute, and if there's one thing that kills any chance of pursuing high levels of economic growth, it's uncertainty. But this turmoil won't go away in just a handful of months. You know, Trump and his team are going to be there until 2029. So this turmoil could very well last for the next 1 to 2 years. So experts are basically saying, don't take the risk, because you don't know what's going to happen with the world economy or the US economy if the US Trump administration decides to shift one way or the other. And what I'm seeing right now from my own personal perspective is that companies are taking resumes and conducting interviews, but they're not hiring unless there's an absolute dire need for them to do so. More often than not, what they're doing is they're actually promoting their own people from within the company and then hiring for entry-level positions as opposed to for the more advanced or more senior roles. But realistically, it will come down to this one question. How confident are you? Are you confident enough to believe that if you were to walk out and leave your current job today, you could land a brand new job in a week? If not, do you think you could land a brand new job in a month? If not, could you do it in 3 months? No? 6 months? No? A year? This will ultimately come down to the way that you view your economy where you live, whether it's local or the entire country's economy. But it also comes down to your mindset. Are you confident that you could do it, or are you that desperate to leave your current workplace simply because you don't like the environment, it's causing you such a massive headache that you feel like you have no choice but to walk away? I don't know what your circumstances are or what they look like, but ultimately, the decision has to come from you. But if you do have to leave your current place, then my advice would be, please try and remove as much risk and uncertainty as possible, just to make life a bit easier for yourself. So for example, let's say you handed your notice period in and your notice period was 3 months. If you could land a brand new job within that 3-month time frame, then all of a sudden, there's no period in between where you're not working. You know, you're walking straight from one job to another. You've removed the risk of not having an income stream completely, so you're safe. Also, if you can, try and have as many sources of income as possible and have ways that you can save as much money as possible. You know, we've spoken in the past on this channel about having as many assets as possible. My own personal preference, one that I'm quite bullish on, is gold. And as we all know, gold has hit record highs recently. I mean, it's just skyrocketed. It's astonishing. So assets that you can own that can accumulate in value, that can definitely help you if you do hit financial hardship. But equally, if you have side hustles, thinking about starting a new business, then maybe that can ease some of the financial burden that you may face in the future if you still fail to land a brand new job after leaving your current one. So at the moment, it's all up in the air. There's a lot of uncertainty around, but let's see where we are in the future. And I'll definitely be keeping my eyes open and letting you know as soon as I have the latest updates. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Drop a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on the whole situation. I'd love to hear from you about the state of the job market and the US economy. I'll be returning soon in the coming weeks, but until then, see you all later and take care.